When you live in the United States and you retire, you are required by law to purchase a tan or gray or champagne colored Buick and use that to drive around the country. When you do, you might notice that your high beam switch will fail. You'll click to high beams, but they won't stay clicked in that position. They will fall back to low beams. You'll have to hold on to it while you're driving, and that is not safe. There is a way to fix the switch without having to pay 80 bucks for a aftermarket one or 400 for a factory one. Other YouTube videos will show you how to take these covers off. Just be very careful to get that screw that you get from underneath by the lock cylinder. That's the one everybody misses and they break it off, and that's not good. When you have the switch finally out, you can leave the wires connected. If you're replacing the whole switch, you have to disconnect those wires and take more things apart. But just to fix the switch, you can leave this half in place and balance it on your knee during the rest of this process. The switch comes apart. There's three T9 size Torx that you can unscrew with a practically eyeglass screwdriver size Torx screwdriver, and then one black plastic clip, and you can carefully split the two halves. The half with the handle comes off, and then what remains attached to the wires is this half. There is a, let's call it a plunger. You can see this finger sticking out and a spring on the other side of the plunger, and that plunger slides up and down in the well. We will call that opening the well. And what that does is there is a toggle switch in the bottom of the well, and there's a little finger that pushes against the switch. But this slider sometimes jumps its track and falls out of place. There's a look into the bottom of the well, and in the bottom of the well you can see this teardrop shaped piece of plastic. This is the teardrop shaped piece of plastic, and it's just sitting there in the bottom of the well where it's not supposed to be. This is with the plunger removed. You can also see in that well a lot of space above where the plunger slides. This is what the plunger looks like. You can see the finger on one side, and the teardrop fits on a little round nub and points in the opposite direction of the finger. That point will engage the switch in the bottom of the well. There it is with the spring in the correct location. And that teardrop toggles back and forth magically every other time you push the switch in order to push the switch from high beams to low beams in the bottom of the well. So let's take a look at the bottom of the well, and you can see that you can see kind of a rail that the plunger is supposed to slide on, and then the grooves down there are on a bit of plastic, which is the actual switch itself, and the teardrop engages those two little grooves. You don't have to worry about which one it's on when you put it back together. It will just toggle back and forth, so it doesn't really matter. And you can also see in the top of that well that there is a lot of empty space. And because there's so much empty space, that gives the plunger the opportunity to jump off that rail and lose its way. So we will fill that space with a 3/8 inch piece of nylon tubing, just because it happens to fit, and the plunger can slide against it, and it kind of will hold itself in there if you cut it to the right length. So that's our magic fix, and you can see with the plunger back in place, that piece of tubing will hold it against its rails and keep it from sliding out. So now you carefully put the two halves of the switch back together. And the other problem that people find is that the finger itself wears down, and people have tried heating it up to kind of stretch it back out. What I did is I glued a small chip of plastic clipped off of a zip tie with crazy glue to the end, and then just to make sure it stays in place, I put some shrink wrap over it and shrunk it down. So here's the final switch going back together, and reinstall it, undoing what you did, and test it and make sure it works. All right, good luck, and post in the comments how you did.